So it's just taking its time now, telling me it's preparing to live stream the meeting. Because I'm host for now until Habiba is ready to come and resume and repossess her place. Oh, okay. It's telling me I can't because I'll need the password, blah, blah, which means I will not be able to. I'll have to wait for Habiba to come back. And yet Sarah is there arriving on a bus that was just about to leave. Sign in, custom live streaming service. Yes, it is on, but I'm just wondering whether it is asking me. Jaden, has it come to you to show that the session is being live streamed now?
Yeah, it's being live streamed.
Oh, it is. Okay. Well, I just wanted to be sure because it was still telling me to sign in here, but it's come on. Okay, 22 minutes past 8 o'clock. If you've just joined us, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is your global community conversation. Come, let's talk with me, Kassim Kayira, live on 75 Dabi Radio, live on Ummah, connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Tonight, due to public demand, we have decided to come back, not necessarily where we were last week, but to try to move the conversation slightly further. Wiki Wednesday, what we want to create them inbox, the particular stories. I wish I could play them here, but because of confidentiality, and I don't think by the time they decided to record these audios onto the conversation, they were willing to have them shared publicly. So I will preserve, but the gist of the matter is the conversation rotated around experiences, because last week when we were having this conversation, we had from stepfathers who had the courage to come forward. We had two very powerful testimonies of stepfathers who came on, who have looked after these children from a young age, one from the age of 7, daughter is 21 at the moment. Very powerful submission, talking about, the fact that they've bonded so much. It's the only thing that is missing in this particular relationship is because the girl or the daughter still calls him uncle and not dad. And that to the stepdad is kind of the missing link, the pain that is still holding that particular wavelength, stopping the happiness that would have been the climax of the relationship. But the girl has grown to the point of asking, would you be my father? Would you give me away when I get to getting married? And that is a very critical time in anyone's life. The fact that someone can have that, I think, speaks volumes. But in the after conversation, in the off-air conversation, one of the things that came up that was quite interesting is we had heard from the stepfathers, we had heard from the mothers who had brought in these stepfathers. I think we should actually get to hear a little bit more from them again, especially at the level of preparation, especially at the level where, for example, is there the resistance? Because I tried to push that last week and it didn't seem to come out very clearly. But whether the resistance tends to come more from boys or from girls, or whether it depends on the kind of relationship that father has with the mother, that the mother has with the children, whether now that would determine whether she's closer to the boys and therefore the boys would be more understanding, or she's closer to the girls, or girls being girls probably might be in a better position to try to understand where their mom is. So I think it would be interesting to hear that. But something else came up, which was now the fathers in whose place the stepfathers have come to take over. It was a very interesting, about 10, 15 minutes of conversation that was recorded. This person sort of saying, when a woman gets married, because when you break up, it's at a point where probably you've had irreconcilable differences. One of the men who spoke to me was saying the way the misunderstanding they had with the wife was actually, like up to now, he's not really brought himself to understand to the realization of the reality of what exactly transpired. He says he loved this woman with all his heart, but she woke up one day and she was just satisfied of him, to the point that it felt like it was some genie of sorts that had been sent. So their breakup, where normally or ordinarily you have irreconcilable differences that push the parties to a point where, they break up and each one goes their separate way. This one person remained in love, and yet the woman just woke up one day and just said, it's over. Overcoming that has still, is still traumatized the man. But that is not, as if that's not enough. The woman now gets another man, and the other man is one not Muslim, and therefore, traditionally, you break, you break the taboo. This person is a Muslim. Yes, they've had their misunderstandings, and then all of a sudden, they find themselves in this area. That hurt the man so much that the woman marries a man who is a non-Muslim. Woman will have her own reasons as to why, well, she ended up where she ended up. It's her choice. And then now this man is worrying about the direction that the children are going to take once in the command of this new man who is the stepdad. That was quite revealing because to me, that is the part that we had not thought so much about. We were looking at the new man, the other man has left, and we hadn't even thought about his leaving and what might have uh, transpired or instigated or facilitated the process that led to this particular situation. So this person says, you sit, and part of what traumatizes me is to imagine what sort of upbringing now this new man might be giving to my children. Another one, interestingly, was saying there are relationships that have ended up breaking up. A woman ending up marrying second man, third man, fourth man. And why? Because the children are so stubborn and tough. Some of the boys beat up the new fathers, the stepfathers. Hence, pushing the relationship to the edge, and then the man runs away. I think it was Hajat Mariam last week who spoke about the experience because it was not her personal experience, but she knew someone who had, met someone quite later in their lives. They had had about 10 children, I think, each, between them, between the two of them, and how consequently now these two people get together. The woman brings the man over to UK. They start living together, and then the children now became an obstacle because if the girls were in the house, the man couldn't be there. They are probably going into the bathroom. You know how we live in Europe, very confined spaces. You're sharing a bathroom and so on. So if the girls are coming in and they are going to use the bathroom and so on, the man has to go to the bedroom and get stuck there until they are fully finished, by which time probably it will be past midnight. Does he ever get to be in the sitting room? If they come in, they'll just grab the remote and then they start watching whatever they want to watch. All of this now created a sort of an impossible situation that the man just realized ultimately that this was not going to work. Man walked out of the woman's life. Now, when we are talking about these stepfathers, last week, from the heroes that came in, from the heroes that transpired in the process of becoming the stepfathers, a person who agrees to come into a home to a woman who has had 2, 3, 4, probably 5 children, and this man decides to come and become a husband in the home, creates, he's sort of putting himself into a situation where is he actually ready for this? Has he psychologically, mentally prepared for this to know what is coming? Is he able to assert his power as the new father in the home? Because for you to become husband, you must be able to, have the word. Last week we heard from several mothers, several women, sort of talking about how cautious they are, like how much power do you allow the man to possess on your children? Sometimes where you've had a break, a sort of a lull between your breaking up from their father and then getting a new husband. The amount of time that it takes, because it might be a year, it might be 2 years, the kind of closeness that mother gets with the children, they feel that there is no other person. You are coming in now as the intruder in this particular space that has been protected for the last 2, 3 years. And then you come in now to break the barriers, to bring in new rules. Allow me just to slide a little bit as an aside, because I might forget. It is 30 years now since the genocide in Rwanda happened. Nabade Rwanda. I went to Rwanda and spent about 5 days that were just very hectic because I was just moving all over the country. Like I was trying to almost get to the whole country in that limited time. It is 30 years since the genocide, and it's 30 years for many people who were convicted, found to have participated in the genocide and killed people, for example, and therefore went to prison for it. Now, I found this particular woman whose husband had been in jail for 27 years for genocide. The woman had not participated in the genocide, but now she had to live with the stigma of having a husband who participated in the genocide, living in a community now of survivors who felt now that there was kind of the victor's justice that was existing. This woman now, over the last 27 years, has not managed to go to visit the husband in prison, not for lack of want, but where they are living and where the prison where the man was in prison is so far that if she was to get money for transport to go and visit the man, she wouldn't have anything to take him. So as a result, she decided to use whatever money she has been having to send some stuff, at least the soap or whatever. And soap is gold in a prison environment. So she was using whatever she had managed to scrape around to send to the man help. But for 27 years, they have not had eye to eye. 5, 10 times they have spoken on phone, on mobile phone, not on video phone, but on mobile phone, where a prison guard allows the use of his phone to speak to the wife. Now, I want you to picture this because it's probably not directly now with the stepfatherhood, but there's an element here that I want to bring in. And that was about the age, the amount of time it takes. This woman remained with 4 children who, I mean, the youngest now, who was just 1 year old, is 27 years old, has not been to see the dad for 27 years. I want you to put yourself in that kind of picture. A woman who has single-handedly run her home for 27 years in the absence of a husband. She's been the husband, she's been the wife. Dilemma is this wife now, in being human and having human emotions, a man comes and uses the absence of the husband, helps to buy you sauce here, and the woman has only one way to thank a man. There's only one way. In case you didn't know, now you do. There's only one way to thank a man. And when she went to thank, as accident happens, she was so ripe and conceived. Now, 27 years later, the husband is about to be freed. There is this building tension of a man who is trying to come into a home he has not been in for the last 27 years, of a woman who has taken charge and control of the home, ran everything. She was the father, she was the mother, she was the voice in the home for that period of time. Now, she has to lose that because when the husband comes, he's the husband. A lot has transpired. Communities have changed. In fact, on the land where they used to live, government had earmarked that place for development. They compensated them, so paid money to the woman, but then they demolished their house and built a new village. It's sort of an estate. Government is building what is called imidugudu. It's like those kibbutz in Israel where the settlers are. They're sort of building those community as a source of protection for future generations, because part of why many people were killed in Rwanda, it's a very hilly place. So one house could be here, another house could be probably half a mile down. When they are killing this person here, it's easy even for the people down there not even to know. If people are together, probably that might have provided a sense of protection that was not there. Now, I want you to put yourself in the mind of this woman who is so worried, because I had a conversation for like 30 minutes and I'm sort of asking fewer questions, but just trying to read her body language. And you could see the tension that was coming. Of course, stepfatherhood now, in this sense, there was a stepfather who is a mobile father who was just in passing and therefore wasn't there. But that is beside the point. I just wanted to bring this and paint a picture. How long could this woman have lasted, without necessarily, going haywire? That was a dilemma that she had to contend with. But also a man. This man almost needs counseling, coming back to a home where he has not been, coming to a woman who he has not seen a woman in those 27 years. I don't know if you're seeing the kind of dilemma that he's facing. To get into our conversation tonight, some statistics came up in Uganda. I don't know the source, but I've got them here. And you can have just a little insight. Probably on your social medias, you might have seen them. But it's called the state of fatherhood in Uganda. According to this, there are 10% fathers who are unaware of the existence of their children. So 10% of fathers, they don't know that they fathered children. So most likely it was one night stand, went to a club, a wedding, they met there, they chigwerao, and so 10% of fathers don't know about the existence of their children. 40% are aware of the existence of their children, but are not involved in their lives. That's 40%. 45% have limited involvement in the lives of their children, 45%. And then 5% have active involvement in the lives of their children. Why don't I open the mics and we start our conversation? Probably this might be food for thought, because then probably you can start seeing where stepfatherhood now sets in. Let me just repeat the statistics for emphasis. 10% of fathers in Uganda are not aware of the existence of their children. 40% are aware of the existence of their children, but are not involved. Probably tebagara kumanya. Let's put it mildly. 45% have limited involvement in the lives of their children, and then only 5% have active involvement in the lives of their children. Probably these are statistics we might go into questioning, but I think it leads us very comfortably again into our segment 2 of stepfatherhood, looking at stepfathers and what they actually probably are. They a curse? Are they disrespectful coming into someone's life at that later stage? Fazil, I want to open the conversation with you, and I'm hoping I'm not hijacking you. You're not busy where you are. I'd like to open the conversation because I didn't have you last week, but also I think it's good to start from a man's view and then we open up the conversation. Fazil, are you there?
Yeah, sure, brother. I am here.
Welcome
back.
Oh, alaikum salam. Welcome to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, and I missed last week. I didn't get a notification, unfortunately, but it could have been very interesting as well. Because I was a stepfather once as well. So.
Oh, you were a stepfather once. Okay, well, let's hear the experience. What was your experience then as a stepfather?
I think number one, personally, I think it made me grow up very quickly. Being a father to two boys, I think it gave, like if at all you're in your 20s, like late 20s, like 26, 27, you get married, and then you become a stepdad. So
and how old? How old
were
these two boys? How old were the two boys?
Oh, the two boys. One was 7. The other one I think was 8 at the time. So
okay.
Yeah. So it makes you to grow up very quickly as much as possible. But what I realized is, it's not to get into their space as quickly as possible. Like you get into the home, then all of a sudden you start giving orders and all this kind of stuff. That's crazy. Like, you have to let it sink in gradually. Because these are young kids. They are seeing someone new in the house, and it's too heavy for them. That's what I understood, and I just let them be, for a while, like to let them to watch the situation, like to watch the situation, and also to see how they are taking you in. So if they approach you and ask you a few things here and there, So you play that part. If they need guidance here and there, you act out. So you help them as slowly by slowly. Then through that process, they are letting you in, and then through that process, you are also letting them in. Like when you come with our Kajanja from Uganda, you want to raise kids here the way we were raised in Uganda. It doesn't work that way because it's gonna create tension. Because all of a sudden, then, and then the other thing is that definitely they are watching how you are interacting with the mom and all this kind of stuff, and also whatever happens, definitely they're also talking back with their dad. So there are so many dynamics happening there that you have to take care of. Now, personally, for me, I'm not this very extremely traditional guy. If you a good person to me, I'll be good to you. So what happened was their father, all of a sudden, like, okay, he would come and see the kids and stuff like that. And we would talk. And whenever I mentioned that to some people are like, huh? Are you sure I would talk to that guy? I'm like, yeah, I would talk to him, because he was like an engineer. He worked in tech. I'm still interested in tech. So we would have a conversation over there. So, so in case of any disrespect that I received and all this kind of stuff, we would work it out, with the mom, as well as work it out with the dad. And then with that, we did not literally have any sort of like contention between the three of us in one way or the other. Yes. But then all of a sudden, then you would have situations where, okay, now they would become disrespectful to the mother. Now, when they become disrespectful to the mother, now that's very interesting. So there you have to, stand up for your wife and let them know that, look, this is my wife. She's your mom. You have to respect her. And I'm not going to let you disrespect my wife. I'm not going to let you, disrespect my wife in front of me. So we need to find a solution to this and this and that. And also, it's very paramount for the mom to give you the support, especially when you stand up against this guy, when you stand up against the children, and also you back her up in one way or the other. The problem that I've seen with some relationships that have the children is for the father to stand up, especially from the man's side. You stand up, and then the woman, all of a sudden,
becomes defensive.
She doesn't back you up.
Yes.
Exactly. She doesn't back you up. So all of a sudden, then, you do not, it's not balanced. You look to be like you're the bad guy in that. Being a stepdad is bad enough, but then if you, I'm not saying it's bad, like I'm joking, but you already have that tag on you. But then, if you're not receiving backing from your wife, then definitely it's all going to go downhill from there. It's going to be hard. So yeah, that was quite the experience there, and I think that I never tried to, because I never ever tried to replace their father. That's the first mistake that most of us, I think, make, because the father was still alive, and coming from a religious perspective as well, because like in Islam, a child is not supposed to call someone father if their father is there, all this kind of stuff. So I have that element in me as well. And I think I got it at one time where one of the child wanted to call me dad. It was very odd for me personally, because their father is there. So I was like, you know what? I need to find means on how to let this child know that, okay, you can call me by my name, you can call me by my name, no problem. But just make sure that you remember that your father is there. So to me, that was very, very important. The idea that, I'm not going to this kid's dad. Whatever happened with the wife, it's okay. But for me, I'm not going to be like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm the father, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll do all these roles, I'll guide you, I'll do this. But just know that, your dad is your dad. That's your lineage. You cannot come into my lineage as much as you want. It's brutal to a certain extent, but to me, that's your lineage, and this is my lineage as well. And I cannot bring in my, like Islamically, I don't know about it.
Fazil, you just made my night. The one thing that stood out for me is the fact that because I was actually when I was recording the trailer today, I was just thinking, and then I just remembered after I'd recorded, I was in a rush. But I wanted to put there a message to say, are you that man who mans up and just, face your fellow man who is the new stepdad, and then probably become friends, because you do not have to become enemies. The issue is if you had a misunderstanding with your wife, with your ex-wife, and then somebody else came and took over from you, probably, well, except the circumstances also matter, how the person got them. Because it might be someone who yajja n'akukubisa ssente n'akusinza ssente n'akugoba ku mukyala. She becomes your ex and then he takes over. Those circumstances now become, the enmity is real. It's there. Or probably it was someone who was close to you, a friend who steals your wife, plays around and then, steals your wife. If someone marries your wife and they're your friend, it is almost unforgivable. It's until you go to the grave. And these are some of the things that sometimes women probably don't even, think through. But your friend is really the closest person who will know most of your weaknesses. And then if it means sort of taking over from you, that will be, the easy person to steal your wife, because you are that close and you sort of open up to them. They will see your fights and then they will just build into these sorts of weaknesses. So if it is that kind of person who becomes the stepfather, it is painful, and therefore to even imagine that you can have a conversation at any point becomes very difficult. But it may be someone who has just come, from outside and probably is unbeknown to you. It might not feel the same, and therefore probably you might just be able to build a relationship.
I just want to confirm I was an outsider, 100%. But also the other dynamic was the one to deal with it. Because my wife then was she was religion. She was a Muslim, so she converted to the faith.
Right.
But then I never ever tried to convert the kids. Okay, the idea that trying to show them, this is what Islam is all about and all this kind of stuff. And I remember one time, because I had to teach my wife how to pray and stuff, and then one of the kids would find her praying and they would get frustrated and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those are the things that happen to a certain extent, where because I didn't want to put the mother in a situation where she has to choose between the child and me, because when she saw the kid being frustrated that she was praying as a Muslim, then they kind of felt awkward, their hearts sunk and all this kind of stuff. But I never ever tried to give them it sounds weird, but I never tried to give them dawah or anything like that, trying to so much to say that, you become Muslim, because that was still there and their dad knew I was Muslim. But of course, things like pork, things like bacon, and all those non-halal meats and stuff like that, those ones I had to stand up. I'm like, hey, I can't be in that home if bacon is going to be served, or non-halal meats are going to be served and stuff like that. Definitely, that was like what do you call it? There's a word they use there.
That was like a no-go area.
No, it's not the idea that in no, this relationship is not going ahead.
Oh, right.
Because a deal breaker. So if there was bacon in the fridge, booze, pork, even if it was the favorite for her children, that one was, a deal breaker. So she had to sort it out on her side, which she did. And which was
now, Fazil, you seem to be speaking in the past tense. I'm just wondering whether, how far you went with this relationship. Are you still together, or because from the sound of it, it was. It sounds like it was in the past.
Oh yeah, no, okay. Unfortunately, it ended, and especially it was on the issue. It came back on the issue of religion to a certain extent, So that's the thing there. You see, like when person changes, these things that we do when someone changes because of religion, that choker, and then it doesn't like tichinyikila bulungi. Somewhere down the road somewhere down the road you get to extent you realize, man, I need my wife to veil. I don't want to force her to veil. I need my wife to do certain Muslim Islamic things, the din nekulinyamu katono. So, and then she's not forthcoming, and then, and then kids are becoming teenagers. So, to a certain extent, things start to fall apart.
Yes.
And because of your religious virtues, all of a sudden, some things are personal, so I don't want to disclose here, but
did you feel that you had failed then as a person who had come in as as the
no,
new?
But
you feel it
no, funny enough, I didn't feel I failed, because at least I was a father for these children for like maybe 8 years. So at least I was a father figure or a man figure in the house, because they need that to put them in line, to put them in order, not to be tossing the mom left, right, and center. So to me, at least I feel like I did that role.
Yeah.
And at least I showed them that I'm a very hardworking guy. I wasn't like sitting on the sofa watching Netflix and eating every food in the fridge and all this kind of stuff. But I tried, and I also tried to show them work, like taking them to my workplace and things like that, and try to create that sort of relationship. So unfortunately, definitely, it's not like I wanted it, but it didn't work out. But it was on the basis of it all came back to religion.
Are you still able to be? Have you been in touch with them since you left? Given 8 years of being in there and molding them, would you say you're still in terms? Did they pick up some values?
Yeah, of course, we are still 100%. We are speaking terms, because I also had children with my ex, so there is that connection there. So like most of these things, you just have to use common sense. For example, the idea of us men here in the West trying to fight for custody of the children, it's a losing battle. Like it's almost 80 again. So you have to just sit and work things out. You're like, okay, this is how much I'm going to pay child support. I will keep up with my payments. This is how many times, you should be seeing your children. You just have to agree on most of these things, so that the thing does not be as nasty, as it can get, because it can really get nasty. But now I find myself in the same situation here. The idea that, okay, now maybe another man might move in. So personally, I think I did a good job, initially. So I believe even if the next man comes in, definitely I'll have to find a way on how to, to work it out, not trying to compete with him.
No new man has come in yet.
No new man has come in yet, alhamdulillah. And
are you worried? Are you worried of what sort of man might come in? Because that was going to be my last question.
Of course, it worries me, because initially it worries me because initially the other ones were boys. Now we have a girl in the house, and then another boy. So you never know who comes into the house, with so much stuff happening these days, and the relationship that can happen. And definitely, personally for me, what I would use is interpersonal relationships, trying to, not to compete and not to put because women are funny, they can use it as a weapon to,
they weaponize the new man to so if you stupidly react, you will end up hearing punches. It's not a good sight for the children. So I think you can as well find means and resolve it and make sure that you're not competing with it. Like our male energy, alpha male energy and stuff like that. You always want to show that you're the best in the room. And these are things that are natural. But for me, I would just be a bit psychological and try to, to respect the gentleman and respect that that's his house, that's his home. And also I would expect the same in return to accord me the same respect. And with that, definitely, I think we can make the lives easy for the children as well as the lady.
Wow, Fazil, you are always a pleasure to speak to, and with lots of life experiences. You bring into this conversation, now, something that I'm sure I would like to hear now from the ladies, sort of responding to what they've had. I mean, we can divulge later into the details of this, but you've brought in almost 4 different elements. One, you coming in as a stepdad, at a pretty young age. I mean, I would have asked the reasons how you ended up in that, but I think that is immaterial now. But also now you bring in another element of how you manage to build confidence with these children. 7 and 8 is probably a critical age, because if it is 2, 3, that's young enough to sort of be able to mold. 7, 8, they are already beginning to shape up their minds about where they want to go. And that being a critical time, it means actually, because 7, 8 ordinarily, in an African sense, for instance, that is where you start school. Here you start slightly earlier than that, but that's about the same time you are beginning to go to school. You are being asked about your father, and then you have to talk about how your father is away, and you have another father in the home. That dynamic. But also importantly, you just brought something that I was wishing that I could find someone to bring, which was the relationship that you have with the stepman, with the mujau, with the musajja munno, because now he is the form, he is the father, or was the father, until you come in now. You're taking this responsibility. You're looking after your wife. How you related with this man, how you became, being able to be on talking terms. I've seen about 2 situations similar to that, where these are older Hajis, like in their 60s, late 50s into their 60s. One married had the woman, left her, then she marries another man. And these two just actually meet because they end up, because they are both like people within the community, the tendency to meet on occasions. And then it's the daughter's graduation, it's the daughter's wedding, and this man is there. He's taking a back seat, like he's not really wanting to throw himself into the spanner of wax. The father now is the highlight on this graduation or wedding, but this man has been and continues to be there, respectfully so. And I found that really, really quite powerful. And you almost wish, but with most men, I mean, the jealousy won't allow you. You're burning. You're just imagining when there are all these mental pictures that you're painting, and that cannot be easy to take in. But the fact that you had this relationship was also good. You bring in another element, which is how you need your wife's defense support to be able to implement whatever comes in. And that was where now most women now will be protective of their children, but they're also in love with this new man. How do you balance this? Where do you stop yourself, sort of not transcending the line that you would have wanted to. Very interesting conversation, Fazil. As usual, you're still with us in the conversation. Barakallahu fikum. Let's just widen the scope of the conversation. If you just joined us, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on Ummah Connected on 75W Radio, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom, and on X Spaces now, where we are beginning to flash our stuff slowly as we go on. Ajatrai Mama, I would like you to get your reaction, given what you've just heard from Fazil's story, and then we can delve now into probably experiences outside that. Ajatrema, are you there? Yeah, Ajatrema. Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. You've kali nawe jebali nnyo. Fazili Mayanja omuwulidde n'obuvumu bwe yateeka mu mbeera gye yateekawo.
Era oyo musajja mu basajja.
Nzikanya naawe. Naam.
Simutiitiiza at all.
Naam.
That was a bold step to take. Naye nga sirina nnyo nze kinyongerako because I haven't experienced anything. I haven't had a stepdad. I haven't been in a position of introducing a stepdad to my children. So it's a bit difficult to see what I can bring into this conversation, really.
Well, I'm just thinking just in terms of preparation, because sometimes you just need to put yourself in someone's shoes. I have not been a stepdad thus far, but I was brought up partly by a stepdad, and therefore experience nganza jiraba. And I think it is important. Bw'owulira Fazili wabadde agamba, when you have religion on your side, bw'obeeramu n'ekintu ky'eddiini, wabawo ebintu ebimu by'otuuka n'okkiriza. Nkuwa ekyokulabirako. Maama amaze okwawukana ne taata, paka bw'aba afudde, that's different, that's much easier. Naye wano waliwo okwawukana, buli omu akutte ekkubo lye. You look at your mom, mumaze okukulaakula, mukuzeekuzeemu. You are able to provide, nyamwe ne mugulira emmere, ne mugulira sukaali, ne mugulira ki, and many children would be saying, Mama tumuwa buli kimu, kikyayagala. And we forget a very important component, which is that companionship. Bye mumuwa byonna mulina bye butajja kusobola kutuuka ku keyeggalira n'ayingira mu kisenge awo. Ennaku n'ennyiike ne loneliness that she manages there can be overwhelming. So until someone gets one, go ahead.
Nekitalya mmere.
Kyembadde ngamba kyennyini anti yeeyo. Yes. Ekitalya mmere ojja kutuuka nga definitely kibanjizza ng'emmere yonna gye muguze, you won't be able to provide that. Kati abaana abasinga nga once until you bring that conversation to that level omuntu atandika ogitegeerera, then probably someone can start appreciating. There are times wolina okwejjamu kino kyoga nti okweyagaliza, you know, this business of, you know, selfishness. You have to be selfless to try to understand why someone would end up, you know, going down that route. Ajati Sara sema kula guy nti ajati wakyogedde ekitalya mmere. So Ajati Rema, Mugambi, you have not had that experience, but I wanted you to give yourself...
Because me have had like 2 friends.
Yes.
They've sort of tried to move on, but the children have made it difficult.
Yes.
Omu yalinga amugamba tajja ate yalina mwana muto under 10, but she would not let her mom go out with anyone other than her trying to push her mom to go back to her dad.
Yes.
When she tried to go on dates and, you know, being her only child, sometimes she would go with the child would embarrass her, you know, do all sorts of things, become quite abusive to this person she's trying to date. And she always felt embarrassed, and this child just wouldn't let her move on.
Yes.
It's...
So it ended up not working?
No.
Wow.
She tried at least, she had tried twice, and because of the embarrassment the child was, you know, putting her through, she just felt she just can't. At one point said, let her maybe continue talking to the child and make the child understand why she can no longer be with her dad, but it's not wrong to be with somebody else. But the child couldn't understand that. The child kept asking, but why? Why can't you be with my dad?
Yes.
So she made it quite difficult for the mom, much as she wanted to move and live a different life and carry on and whatever. But it always came to that. If somebody tried to come home, she was always there. She would mouth and make this person, you know, so embarrassed until they just walk away and leave.
Ajat Rema, barakallahu fikum. Thank you very much. Well, you thought you didn't have any experience. Now the experience has already come in. That's the beauty of this program. And I acknowledge the arrival of Al-Hajj, newly fresh Hajj Imam Kasozi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome back, and welcome to the program as well, Imam. Good to have you back.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, you've just joined us in the middle of the conversation, so probably I'll let you.
I have just come to listen, please.
Oh, barakallahu. No, I wanted you to settle in first, and then definitely.
Okay, don't worry. Okay, I was just repeating your salam. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. Good to have you back. MashaAllah. And we'll need dua from you as I go to Gaddafi Mayanja. Gaddafi, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you? How is your health at the moment?
Alhamdulillah, mbadde bulungi health wise. Ndi bulungi neerabirira ku mateeka g'omusawo. Ndi bulungi, alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wojjidde nga tuli ku mboozi ya Stepfathers. Actually, it was a bit unfortunate oyingidde Fazil Mayanja abadde amaze otuvuga mu ka speed okasubiddwamuko partly, but ndooza nkoze summary katono ebyebyo byabadde akutteko. Naye ogize nga tuli ku mulamwa gwa Stepfather, and I would like to hear your own take on this. Have you been a stepfather? Have you been brought up by a stepfather at any point? Do you know any stepfathers? And Yusuf Kezimbira naye has just joined us. Yes.
Nze, I am a stepfather. Naye omanyi terminology eyo saagala gikozesa stepfather.
Wanji?
Terminology eyo saagala gikozesa stepfather.
Yes.
Naye nga ndi.
Yes.
Lwaki? Mutabani wange gwenna kati namusanga wa myaka ndoza gyali ebiri. Nze naye ebiri ya was a young boy.
How old is he now?
Kati he's amaze university.
Subhanallah. Hey, no,
amaze university.
Yes.
Naye kye nasooka okukola is okukimugyamu nti nno ndi step we. Nemutwala ndi step ya. Nemutwala as my own. Era mu brings it up as my own. Kwegamba ate naye nanzikiriza. Netufuka ba mukwano. Tunyumya emboozi. Senda mwavu akomeri kumanya naffe benna kusina akomeri. Tutulasi ne tunyumya. Yakkiriza nti nze taata we.
Akuyita taata?
Yampita daddy.
Okay. Because
part
of the conversation you tried last week, waliwo abantu babiri abakola testimonies naye nga bakoze ekyobuzadde kyonna myaka 14 myaka 10 ogwebutuukakyabulawo kikyali mwana kumuyita kikyagaana.
Nagiwulira muganda wange Zaidi.
Wagiwulira? Yes.
Naye ampita daddy and we get on very well. Ndowooza the key is nti bamama nabo bamama balina okuzanya paati eyo abana okukola ki okukuukiriza ne bakutekinga on nga daddy, because abawala nneyo omulenzi n'abawala babiri kati abawala bakazi bakulu naye respect ne bampa yeeyo.
Kakati last week Jaden yainamu akazi waawo ngaga nti by these children calling you dad, does that not take away their father? Kubanga taata waabwe kiba kimuvuddeko nti takyali kitaabwe oba olwo baba bakukkiriza nti this is a sense of respect naye nga kitaabwe bamumanyi nti akyaliwo. Jaden we yalina problem, it felt like wabaawo ng'okwagala okureplacinga taata w'omuntu, which genealogically would not be right.
No, kati nze for sure kiri nti abaana oli asigala taata waabwe asigala daddy waabwe. Kati okuyita daddy, I think that is a title kakitwale bwekyo. Kati omwana okuyita daddy is respect ndowooza. Abaana bakifindinga hard okuyita daddy. Bakuyita uncle, bakuyita by your name sensi tetulimu. Either way,
what gundi once you become a father.
Wakati omuvubuka yekane Fatiha omumanyi bulungi nnyo.
Yes.
Mekane Fatiha. So kati bajeeringa bo kati bu daddy nono muto muwa Mariam naye kwegamba nze sijja kulima sikifunyeemu buzibu. Kubanga kinasooka okukola you draw the line. Namanya nti nono yabya ne mama waffe ate yali mu nnyumba nga taata. Taata bw'abazze obanga musinkanye, of course bannaffe abamu si bangu. Omuteesa omu bw'agambye. ng'agala fenagano gayono ye egamba gayono yali mugamba ye yanjira kwegamba yakola ebintu byonna byonna ebikola ebyaziga mu maka gange whatever naye nga ate si gwakikola ayinza okuba nga ye kennyini yakyereetera naye nga
taata w'abaana
taata w'abaana abamu si bangu nze sina buzibu nabo because at the end of the day there's nothing okudda ku musajja munno omulabi bulala sina bulala bwe mulabamu bozi ayinza okuba ye nga ndaba bulala naye sina bulala bwe mulabamu era respect ngimu wanga taata waki.
Have you had a chance okwogera naye? Have you had any place where you meet and sort of have a conversation at all, or you've kept your distance and they've kept theirs?
I've kept my distance. Olwansonga nti omanyi abasajja nga okikonyeeko awo nti abasajja tulina ennugu ennyo
yayingira kati bwe nali nnyingira
buli kafaananyi ako kati bino byakola bino biri butabuka anye kyenkola I keep my distance. I keep my distance kwegamba si newala obuvuyovuyo obwo. You have enough on your plate. Ate oteekako n'ebyo ate oli aba alina obuzibu obubwe simuwate chance y'okujja kukola ki kunjira. So I won't say no kikigize naye nze I've really had tekimpisiza bubi naddala ku mulenzi kubanga ye omulenzi ujjeyo abawala boolusabiramu ne issues zaabwe naye you just have to back off. You don't give them that my medicine is I don't give them the benefit basiba platform kutuuka ebatali suppose kutuuka olaba alina wayagala okutuuka ng'ogikatingirawo otya omanyi asiise teyejjusa oba wala nga bagize nga bakuŋŋaanye bonna obeerawo nonywa nabo eddakiika naye kati nabasanga baana bato mu tineji eyo yali mbi nnyo kavubuka nga bawaga bagamba tata ffe si yali nga bwobimanyi tata ffe biki naye kati bageza okumukula they appreciate me now bagamba musajja gwe oli musajja mulungi nnyo wanteeka mu layini ate era nekitembateekamu tokayana nabo omulagabulazi kkubo tuufu nomugamba ekyokoze si kirungi ye alaba naye at the end of the day they appreciate me. Life is good. Life is really good. Alhamdulillah.
This is very positive to hear. Barakallahu fikum Gaddafi. And actually we are just continuing with the conversation. If you've just joined us, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio, live on Ummah Connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. And if you've missed any of our programs, you can just go to YouTube, just type in Ummah Connected, and you'll just scroll down, you'll see Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, or go to facebook.com, just put 75W Radio, one word, and then you just see Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira. And you can catch up with any of those programs. We take your comments seriously, and you can actually recommend a topic that you think might make sense for us to have a conversation about. Three brilliant people now who have already just spoken, and they've just opened our hearts to these particular stories. Are you a stepdad who has had a nasty experience? I would like to hear from you. Or are you that father whose wife now, you broke away from your wife and you're worried about the stepdad, or you appreciate the stepdad that took over from you? It is not easy to sort of appreciate, but sometimes you might just come in and say, this person helped to keep my children on the right path while I was away. Like I said, if you just joined us again, there are some statistics that I just shared. The basis of the statistics now are questionable. Well, not questionable, but I mean the source now. Probably we can start debating on the depth of the statistics. But if you've just joined us, let me just give you these statistics. Zikuyambe maybe okumanya why we are ending up in this state of stepfatherhood. The state of fatherhood in Uganda, and this is a new report, it is saying 10% of men or fathers are unaware of the existence of their children. So, ebitundu 10 ku 100 y'abasajja bazaala abaana naye tebamanyi nti n'abaana abakola ki gye bali. So it's either the woman through population census who has come to say, Nazaro Mwana, no Mwana, but are they in touch? Who is the father? They are not in touch with their father. So 10% of men are unaware of the existence of their children. Again, we said this might have come from a short relationship. Musinkanye mumbaga kuchidara, wechigwerede wekyagwerede. Tomorrow morning, everyone goes their separate ways. You go back to Rukunjiri, they come to Kasese, or they end up in Mbale. And then the next thing is you have a child who probably you will never get to see again. 40% are aware of the existence of their children, but are not involved in their lives. Oh, that's quite a big statistic. That's actually where that stepfatherhood now might even come in very easily. And then 45%, they have limited involvement in the lives of their children. So when about school fees, but they don't go for visitations to see the children, how they are progressing and so on. Graduation. And then there is only 5% who have active involvement in the lives of their children. This is really worrying. And I think once you start breaking it down religiously, here we don't fare very well, I'm afraid to say. Well, so we are continuing with the program and we're talking about stepfathers. We've just had very interesting submissions from Fazil, from Hajat Rehma Mabuya, from Gaddafi Mayanja, who is both are stepfathers who have spoken, coming in with an experience now that actually, yields in. It is the moment of truth. And actually, for me, entering into stepfatherhood, like being brought up by a stepfather who comes in when we are actually much older. I think I was almost in senior 4 as a candidate, almost going to become a candidate. And it is one of those difficult times, but then you get sat by a mother who sits down and says, look, my son, this is the situation. We are like this, we have the money, but I'm a person of integrity. I can't be seen, going around. I've found a person, and this is the person that I'm, bringing in. And first of all, the empowerment of a parent sitting you down to talk you through a situation they are going through becomes quite overpowering. It's like someone apologizing. Omuntu yenna asigala ng'okyakambuwadde n'okola ky'okoze ng'omuntu amaze okusaba ekisonyiwo. It becomes really self-defeating for the person that is doing this. For the person who has apologized, they have freed themselves from the burden of what they have done. Now the burden, the onus is upon you as a person now to decide where do you go from there? And that becomes very critical. But here is a parent who has sat you down, spoken through, the realities. You can see it's not about money that you have failed. No, it's not like school fees. It is no. We have a restaurant that is thriving, that is doing business very well. But here is a dilemma. Would you rather have, a mother who will be hard, and then the image just goes away. The integrity of the person goes. Or would you rather get a person that will bring decency in the home and bring some order? Now, once they have come in, you have accepted them. How do you now contend yourself? Because there are times when you are used to this kind of freedom and suddenly this freedom has to be reined in. It's not easy. As far as I see your hand up, why not come to you? Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Sheikh Keke, there's circumstances are different.
Yes.
First and foremost, in your case, and listening to your life story, you had an experience when you were living with your father and your stepmom, and how you ran from Machakos, is it in Kenya? Yes. So, and then now you come into a situation, now you're with your mother and things are different. So there's that part of your life you had wanted to leave behind. But then there's a situation whereby you still want to see your parents together. And that is like Sister Mavia was saying, Kati, as a child, you're there struggling so much. And even if your parent comes and tells you, you still hold up this hope, Nayerwachi, simply because you always wanted, you're okay with the situation as it was. And then that is when sometimes, you know, our kids rebel, or as kids we rebel. And especially girls, I don't know about boys, but girls can be so rebellious. I know I was told of this story, this young mother. She was working with different shifts, but then she met somebody and brought somebody at home, a man at home, but the girl did not like the man. So what she did, she was a teenager. What she did when she came back from school, and at that time the mother was at work, she almost walked half naked in the house. To the point whereby the man had to leave and say, if this girl, she pushed his buttons too much. She put him in a situation, very compromising situations, until he had to leave the relationship. So sometimes it depends on the circumstances, because our kids, as kids, they paint pictures. My second daughter struggled so much, but her struggles, she liked the idea of staying, seeing mommy and daddy under the same roof, and not seeing any other circumstance until they're old enough to really, understand. Oh, mommy, now we understand. But also there's another point, Brother Musa Chagulanyi later last week, and when comparing Anne Fazil, Brother Musa yagamba mujja maka abaana bali out of control, oyagala kujja obatereze, and if you're coming with that kind of mentality, nti kanzije ntereze, then it becomes hard. Kumanga omusanze n'abaana mulaba struggling, like you cannot come nga wachojiddeko, nze nabalabye abaana ze, there's certain things nga mama bajja with this n'omukono gw'ekyuma nga without even trying to have a relationship with the kids. Kati ate mothers, I won't speak for all mothers, but I know sometimes as mothers we try to compensate our children. Kubanga already, I don't want to call it has failed. Now you're already in a situation where abana bo struggling for not having both parents. Kati, that gap sometimes as parents, which is not good. Nayenga mama, sometimes we overcompensate our kids. No, you love them beyond where they even need to be loved. Naye kubanga oyinamu void, waliwo ka void kali in the home that you're almost trying to fill up. Nayenga, you're not doing it in the right way. So somebody else comes into the picture. Kati, when that void yogezako decompensating in a wrong way, when someone else comes into the picture, kids rebel. Kati ate now already you've already broken it. Ate oyagala someone is coming in. Agamba ate maybe ekyo ready to chikola bwotyo. Naye olina okukireeta in a way that is, how can I say it?
I hear you.
I hope you know what I'm saying. Kaga tojja n'omukono g'ekyuma ebyana byo tebiwulira, abaana tebakola ki, abaana bali out of control, kati ojje n'omukono ogwo, kati nga nange mbadde eno nga ndi kugamba abaana obadde ogezaako nga bugambe olina guilt for you almost have that guilt for not raising your kids with their parent under the same roof. Kati bojja, you have to do it with love. That is like the way Fazil was saying. Nti ochi bringing in Paula.
No, now that's where I had a question. That's where I have a question. And the question is this a conversation that you can have before you actually? Now, if I see you, if I've seen a woman, I've liked the woman. By the time we go into deciding that now we are taking the next step now to become husband and wife, together haram, we just want, because sometimes actually now the Islamic aspect comes in pushing fast tracking. Your patience is such that it is now you are thinking, when building, we are running out of time. If sagara kugenda kugwa mu Zambi, and because of that, is this a conversation then that you would have alongside relationship, where, for example, you are talking about I have 3 kids. You, the wife, you, the woman, say, I have 2 kids, I have 3 kids, I have 5 kids. We are coming into this relationship. How will we manage the kids? Because the love is so hot, the love is burning. Burning, do you have a moment where you can have that conversation in depth to bring out how you're going to deal with the children who are becoming an important factor, an ingredient in the kind of relationship that you're going to have?
So to me, I'll say, Ojango tunulide mchala yeka, because the love is burning, you're starting on the wrong footing.
Okay.
Because omchala na aja with the baggage.
Yes.
That extra baggage, jajana, you go tunulida just her only because the love is burning. She's beautiful. You know, beauty fades. Nelave yoba toyagala kola zina, or you know, and you don't want toyagala konona. But after once or twice of fulfilling that, it may not be, it may not be enough for you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at it in long term, obanga, you're looking at the bigger picture, not just your temporary, enjoyment or in your midway, then it can work out. Then you can really have that conversation. If you don't have that conversation from the beginning and say, okay, where do I fit into this picture? How are we going to do this? How are we going to discipline our children? How are we going to do all these things? And age, shekeke. Age is one of the biggest, the most important factors to look at, because as they're teenagers, it becomes
that's why I
harder.
want again to play the devil's advocate. You do not determine that at this stage now, because once you've broken up with a man, it will be because of circumstances oftentimes outside your control. So
Absolutely.
whether the ideal situation would have been break up when they are still young, so that the new person now can come and try to mold. But since we are not in control of the determination of what stage you get into that, it opens up then the room that, yes, if the children are young, fantastic. Gaddafi Mayanja comes in, 2-year-old, 3-year-old. That's enough, a good time to sort of start building up a relationship. You get into a Mayanja situation where you have 8, 9, get into 10, 13, 14, it gets more dynamic. But since we do not determine, would you say that then before anyone throws themselves into stepfatherhood, they should think about the age of the children, disregarding what might exist, the chemistry that might exist with their mother?
Not necessarily. Personally, not necessarily, but I say they have to look at the dynamics, because not all kids are out of control. Not all the kids, Kumanga, maybe the ones sometimes it can be very complicated. But not all of them. It's a very difficult situation. Again, it still also goes back to the mother and how the mother has been raising them. Again, it also, because Ibimokati Zaidi had mentioned tasobola kuyita taata aze at this age, naye kubanga akyalinamu kalita yalabako ku taata, naye ate nga mwema yanje yagambye omwana ye ali wa myaka 2, so he didn't even know any better. So it still comes back to the mother, how the mother is raising her children, how she's going to bring into perspective. Kubanga olusera ne baba bakuzeemo, so batuza n'omugamba like your mother did, ne munange saagala kuyingira mbwenzi and this and this and that. Now yet there's also the adolescent age.
As for there might be another way, which is sometimes for a person who has come in as a stepdad, sometimes even better. What you do is find an ally or ally.
Yes.
Within the children, once you build a relationship with abangungu, that might be difficult. So you get the ones that are accessible, use the accessibility to build a relationship. I would imagine so. I have not been in this
Absolutely.
situation, so I'm just thinking that might be a nice, natural way. And please, I mean, we are having a conversation. So if you have any views, please just raise your hand and come in. To the conversation. We are just having a conversation. And as you know, with this program, all of you are experts. Everyone will have a say, you know, on what we are having a conversation about. Hafsa, yes, Marie is then moving
No,
on.
the kyensembyeyo mwami Mayanja said abasajja mulina ebbuba oba muli babujja oba muli whatever it is.
Tweyagaliza.
Mweyagaliza.
Nnyo.
And sometimes omusajja bw'oba okedde ku makya n'omulekawo n'ofuna omuntu omulala, that ego always erina weebateeka that is so bad. Kati bw'omuwala ate ne mukitransferinga ne ku baana, oyo omusajja oyo talibeera kitaawo ne buli kibeera ki. Kati ne bw'oba ogezazaako okubuulirira abaana bo, nammwe abasajja at some point tumanyi okupoisoninga minds z'abaana. Oyo si kitaawo, oyo si kitaawo, I am your father. Kwegamba n'abasajja nabo they don't, you know, sometimes their ego kicks in and it becomes really hard. But I still, at the end of the day, like I said last week, for the men who stand up and raise children that are not theirs, Allah abawejjana, Allah abasasulemu bulungi. It is not an easy thing, but we appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Asfa. Another blast into a conversation that is not easy to have by any standards. Hajat Sarah, I'll come to you. I need to get in more men as well. That Hajat Sarah, I come to you. Oinaka wasekerendemu Hajati Mawiyao, Kankuteko. Hajat Sarah, I can't see you now. All of a sudden, I've lost you here. Hajat Sarah, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Yes, I couldn't. No.
But try to be quiet as much as you can.
Your line is difficult again.
I'm trying to hide somewhere I can speak without waking up baby.
Okay. No, that's
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Hasfa has thrown something in the spanner in the works. Raising, you know, some of the issues that people have to consider, or the difficult ones. And I think it's one of the dilemmas where it's also determining best case scenario would have been woman be married to your husband till death doth you part, or do you part. But in reality, that doesn't happen. Where people have separated for different reasons. Naye wazzeemu ebbuba ly'abasajja tetutalina kye tuyinza kulikolera Allah yatugabira. That you would feel that, but how far you take it, I think, is what is different. As for abadde agamba abasajja abapoisoninga minds z'abaana, you know, like telling the children that one will never be your father. I think that speaks volumes. But let me hear your own take on our part 2 tonight.
For me, I think the number of men who would do that is quite small compared to the number of women who do it, or if they were stepmoms.
Who would be toxic in sort of...
Yeah. Women are more dramatic than men, and men sometimes don't even have time for that.
Yeah.
I did happen to witness to be on a wedding where there was 2 stepdads, and the one who was the dad of the day who was with their wife, who looked after the girls until they now got married. Well, one was getting married, was there, and the real dad flew in from Uganda and came here to attend the wedding. But the poor man, the stepdad, did all the big jobs that he even had to maybe kind of take his tie off to do the jobs on the wedding. The one who raised the children when the dad left. But he was really trying his level best to contain himself, because the mom and the real dad were both sitting at the high table, so cozy, chatting, not even minding almost what was going on, and that was really killing the man. Many times he did come to our table where we're sitting, and one of my cousins was a good friend of theirs, and he was trying to speak to her to say that probably they could tone it down. The other two, jealous was coming up, much as he tried to distance himself from what was going on and buried whatever he was doing into the jobs that were going. There came a time when he couldn't take it anymore. And he spoke to my cousin to speak to the mom, because they were both sat together. Mom was looking more after the dad, the real dad, and not even being mindful about the stepdad. Yeah, I mean the dad, the stepdad, yeah, the stepdad, and that was really killing him. And it did happen that the real dad, was the one who had married the woman who was a non-Muslim, and the woman, when they left the dad of the children, he went back and married someone of her religion, and they had that real proper wedding. So bagate bampeta. But the dad was really finding it hard, and he reached a time when he had to leave the wedding. He left the stepdad, and I don't know what happened after. It was really hard, and I could feel for him. He did drown his sorrows into alcohol. He really had a lot to drink that night. And that's when I saw some kind of jealousy creeping through. But men are very, really good at toning it down. They do what they do best is try to avoid each other, never to try not to meet. There is one I know about who came in as a stepdad, and he just came and took over. That the real dad of the little children was not even allowed to come and visit, and it was him trying to answer the doors all the time and shunning him away. And I was like, these two are going to fight one of these days, because even the one who had left the children with the mom, with his wife, from ex-wife, seemed not to have left the woman. He still had feelings for the woman, and he was always trying to bring in the kids as the reason that he wanted to go there and see them. But I think it was more to do with the woman. When you add 1 and 2, you could get that, oh, he's not gotten over this woman. Otherwise, the kind of fight he's putting forward is not really worth it. Yeah, I would try and speak to him. And one day I told him just to try and get him leave the woman. I said to him, but you were not the first man with that woman. She's already had children with other men. And you got her when she had already had other children with other men, and you were there. Now it is your time to leave, and someone else is there. And that person too will leave. Today they are not even together. Anyway, he also left his child, that other one who was trying to stop this other man to come and see his children. He also left the woman. So the woman is just in the business of bringing men and dumping them, being so beautiful, and is really making use of her beauty.
Now, Ajahn Sarah, as far as talking about mothers overcompensating, I mean, because the first relationship died or didn't go as planned, and therefore she breaks up and then brings in another man. But then in the process, she's overcompensating. It's almost like I failed with the other one. Now, the best way is to compensate here. On the issue of overcompensation, how can women get themselves well, why do they get themselves into that, and how can they get themselves out of it?
I think, like you say, they are trying to retain a relationship because they have failed in other relationships. But it may not be common. For me, I've not met any woman doing that. I've seen those who have been left by their first husbands, and like one of the friends I told you about, she doesn't mind. She's rather you leave and leave her with her children. If you get involved in her children, like you have no say whatsoever. So it all depends on each and every person, the way they do it. But I wouldn't say that most mothers do it. Yes, there are those who do it because they feel they don't want to get another man after this one. They would rather stay with this one. They have now their new catch, because they, in our tradition, it was like really unspeakable for a woman to have children with so many different women, men, they
Men.
look at you as someone, as someone who is not respectful. There is a term they would use, which is not really kind. So some people judge you. They're like, maybe you're just a miser. It's not like you really can settle. Probably that could force them to try and retain the man they have. But it's really hard to keep someone if they don't want to be kept, though.
Right. Okay. Thanks very much, Hajat Sar. Finally, and that's the question I want to put to Kalozi Muhammad before I leave you, Hajat Sar. It's a question I'm asking you, but I'm also putting to Kalozi Muhammad, which is, abantu waliwo okukyawa nga tetukyaye ne weekyayakyaya, because there are people who break up ne baba nga okukyawa beekyaye tebeekyaye bulungi. Ogenda okakana ono asobodde ogenda n'afuna another man, a husband, but in getting a new husband, she's not fully over the last man. And then this man is also not yet fully over, because probably it was a misunderstanding that looked so bad. And then azawa mukute n'omukozi nduru, break up, whatever. Man goes, the ensonyi zajjewo zifuuse obusungu ye buying a time. Woman now gets another person coming into her life. In the process, she's married to a new man. A stepdad now is coming in to become the stepdad, but part of her heart is still with the other man, and so is the other man. Is that something that is common out there?
I've seen that happen. You know what happens sometimes when, like, our Muslim men, they get to another wife.
Yes.
And this one is like, no, I can't stand this. I have to go. And then they immediately also find another man to get married. Because they were still in love. They both of them loved each other, but because of what the man has done, he's gotten another wife, and she's like, Sifumba na mkazi mlala. And she goes. Then she reaches there and things turn out to be really bad. And she's like, oh, that was my husband. And then she comes to claim this one or try and get back. And sometimes really hard. So then a lot of anger sprouts from there. And then they're like, there's a kind of competition. It can even be very toxic between the two of them, you see. And then they use the children to fight each other. That really happens. Yeah. They do. It does happen.
Barakallahu fikum, Hajat Sar. I'm sorry, logged in via husband's account. So it is a Hajjati. Oh, okay. Please go ahead. On Kalozi Muhammad is who is there? You didn't say your name though. Please unmute yourself. Sorry, I thought that was Kalozi Muhammad, but you've logged in as husband. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Let's hear to know who you are now that you are not Kalozi Muhammad, definitely.
Jazakallah khair, Mr. Kassim Kayira. My name is Hawana Banja.
Oh, how Mwana Wembogo.
Yes, Sebo.
Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
We are talking about stepfathers.
Yes, I've been listening. Though, as by experience, see, know something I would share, but I'm really learning a lot here.
Right. No, ina guomanyi wakiri. Izo wanti to ina step husband. To ina to say your stepfather kubana. Ne maybe mubomanyi mikwano njo baji wakulira. There has been a situation of stepfathers. Or maybe what is your attitude to stepdads?
Okay. Let me give a scenario that I've experienced growing up. My mom got married to my dad after she was married before. And in that marriage, she had a child. She had two children, two girls. But on getting married, so she married my dad with one.
What had happened to the other? Yeah.
Daddy yamtwala. Daddy yasoka yamtwala.
Yes.
So my dad was in the picture for my sister, my big sister. Era about till now. And we have been okay, I would say. And also the first dad, Oli, if he comes around, like we there is a connection as a family. I would say we all communicate. There is respect for everyone, and buri omwe amanyi boundaries za munne. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Do the two fathers talk at all?
Yes, they talk.
Right.
They talk.
That takes a bit of courage, because with men sometimes ogano jagyange na guy kiricho janoruma erinyo noriruma burumenya tona cyakora salamu nogitora. But especially, I mean, if you are put in a situation where you have to be in the same setting, you know, like now your second sister who was brought up by your dad, you know, sort of the kind of relationship you're building out, a way tambulida.
Yes, I know. First of all, I think it's going home, child. I'm just thinking, Kale, because I haven't really experienced it as a wife coming into another marriage with kids. But I think my mom put it straightforward about her children to Baina, and they found means on how to go around it, like raising them. Atene chijala nasasira nti tata waffe yali muntu mulungi nabeera welcoming gye bali. Honestly, you wouldn't know.
Yes.
You wouldn't know. Era tukitegedde nga tukuze ddala nga tuwulidde ddala, but you wouldn't know. Era omuntu wewabweru tasobola kumanya.
Wow.
But I think it takes really a lot of courage and
no, that
being
takes
tolerant.
Takes man. Wosanga ab'omurugube ab'ennaku zino bannakyeyagaliza, selfish. It might be a difficult one. Hawa, thank you very, very much for that. Experience, and then suddenly you see how deep you've taken it. It's been with you that close.
Okay, thank you. But just a quick one.
Yeah.
There is someone I know.
Yes.
They were also like in the same situation, but then, okay, their dad broke up with their mom, and their mom got married somewhere else. It like got into another marriage. Now, but their dad can't even look at this other child. Brother wabo muto tasobola na kumutunuulira, like tayagala na associating naye.
Yes.
Yet it's so many years that have passed. It's over 10 years since they broke up, like since they are divorced, but still no mwana omuto tayagala wadde mutunulako. So I think we need to learn to let go and embrace the new paths as well to say.
I think we need prayers. We need constant prayers. Otherwise, we know to. But I think it also depends on the circumstances of your breakup. If the breakup was harsh and you know it followed like a trail of abuse, it might be that then, because of the heartbreak, the trail of heartbreak, the amount of debris that you leave behind in the process of breaking up might contribute now to how the relationship, you know, goes after that. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you very much. And I've got Safina. Yes, I've got Safina next there. Safina, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Still remember you from last week? Yes, please go ahead.
Unfortunately, to have joined late. There's something that connects to how the talk ended last time.
Yes.
You guys were talking about women who end up having kids from different men at different times, whatever reason, and then you said they come with a baggage.
Yes.
Now you're talking about why women overcompensate. Truthfully, when a relationship fails, many times society will blame the woman so much, you know, and stuff like that. So this is why when you come out of one relationship and you move into the next one, it might be really bad, but you try your best. Never, you know, you try to contend because you need to make it work. The other one didn't work. What will people say? The other one failed. Even this one is going to fail. So I must do everything possible, whatever the case, and you become miserable for the rest of your life. Then we chigana to the last minute, you know, and by Allah's will, you might have a child there as well. You had a child before, even in this other second failed relationship, another child. So wherever women go, we have that thing of nesting. We want to make things work. In fact, we think about, now I have these two children. I must find a home for them. I need to find a dad for them. They need a father figure. So this is why many cases women overcompensate with a new relationship just to make it work, to avoid society talk. So, and that comes with a lot of baggage as well. Then the other point Jensen Mogerako is about men poisoning children against their stepdads.
Yes.
And I remember last time I gave you that example, because truthfully, I've had this many times. In fact, many times a man might be mistreating you, and in him, he doesn't think he's mistreating you. He feels it's just being the man, you know? So a Janabo Gola, and he denies you some things because Agala are feeding you under their control. You want something, and then you have to beg and ask. So they don't look at that as abuse. Yet you, as a woman, you might feel like, I need something desperately. Like, and they are dependent on the husband. And the husband won't give them the money when they need it. EDA too said they want to buy clothes, and the man doesn't buy the clothes. And, and it makes you sad. And for him, he doesn't feel like it's such a big deal. Nayenga, honestly, he loves you. In fact, he sees the things you do. You're a good homemaker, you're a good cook, omzali davana, and all stuff like that. So for him to think about he's losing all that, and this other man is going to be enjoying all those things. So it creates that tension somehow. In fact, many times people separate and they don't want to see the other person moving on. They want to see you happy. They are happier if they find you and you look miserable. Then they say, yes, you're punk, and now look at what has happened. Then when they think about you being happy, a new man, you're seeming to be happy, you're moving on, and nowhere. It brings akasadia kumutima, and it makes people want to do lots of stuff. So that's how Ngawe Nabagama last time, someone tells this kid, the other kids are not your siblings. Sibaganda, they don't look like you. These other ones, those are your only what? They are your own blood. Yeah. So that's how men come up and start poisoning what? Children. Because truthfully, if you look back at how you met your wife, or even how the wife met you as the husband, there was so much, you had plans, you set out to do good, and somehow Shaitan comes in, maybe abachala, friends and whatever, stuff happens, and then rifts between you. Some people don't see these things through or think through. Someone says, again, and then they pack up and leave. True others think about these things and they weigh all options until when they see everything has failed. Because I've had people who have engaged sheikhs. They come in their homes and talk to these people. They get elders to talk to them and nothing changes. So at the end of the day, when a woman or the man decides to pack, because in my life I've seen Abasadia Abanova, when a man packs up their bag and enough is what? Enough. Oyagala bintu, there you are. And then they go on and start afresh. And then as time moves on, you find that this person starts thinking about these things and say, how did I do this? Maybe I shouldn't have pushed him away, or I shouldn't have pushed her away. So this is how Asgalamaka Kamwagala. So to imagine another man going all the way with this woman, it doesn't settle well. And it creates such tensions. I think that's what I can contribute.
That definitely makes sense. Thank you very much, Sabina. 54 minutes past 9 o'clock, another very brilliant conversation unfolding. If you've just joined us lately, it's Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira, live on 75 W Radio, live on UMA, connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Well, the dilemmas of when people go away and when love is not yet sorted, Jaden, I come to you. The dilemmas that we have to deal with, in situations where, for example, you have chucked, but you have not chucked. You have half chucked, and then as you are chucking, someone is just ready to move on, and someone is waiting to pounce. And before you know it, the person is gone. And then, well, sometimes you're just trying to see. We have 4 children. Where will this person go? They won't go anywhere. Before you know it, someone is already waiting in the corner, and they are stepdad to your children before you know it. Jaden, go ahead, please. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah.
I just wanted to come in on what many of the participants have tried to unpick, which is the question of the children accepting the stepdad.
Yes.
Once their dad has left.
Mhm.
Now, this is something which happens subconsciously, and unfortunately, it's the moms who have the control for that. And my reasons for saying that is, when a marriage is thriving, you find that there is a very strong emotional connection between the husband and the wife and the children who happen to be in the home. But once that marriage breaks down, the mother's love turns to the children, not because that they are the only ones who are left in the home, but it's because the mother wants to protect the children from going through the hurt and pain that she's going through. So she shows them so much love, and children being children, they get so much attached to their mother. And to break that bond will only depend on when and how the mother releases that bond. So depends on how badly the mother is hurt. That bond is going to be so strong that the children will stick with their mother, and the mother will stick with their children for as long as the mother keeps hold of that bond. And this is something which happens subconsciously, because all of us want to protect our children from being hurt or from being abused in one way or another. Now, when somebody moves in, the mother will not straight away transfer or shift her love to this person. It is going to go in phases. One, do I trust this man as he is? Because we know women's attachment to men is more emotional than physical compared to women. So transferring that emotional love from the children to the new man is going to take some time, and depends on how much hurt the mother has felt. Is going to reserve some love and attachment to the children, and this is what stops most children from welcoming the new man into the house, because the attachment with their mother is so strong. The mother has transferred all the love from their father to them, and they see somebody coming in as removing that love which they have been missing. So some have been missing, or they've been receiving in parts. So it takes time for these children to love this man. So it will depend on how the mother plays her cards before this man comes or is accepted into the family home.
Is that to do with the preparatory? Is that to do with the preparatory phase, preparing the children? Is that part of the preparation for the children before the new man comes in? Okay, you said how she plays her cards. Does that fall into the level of preparedness that she provides before the new man comes into their lives?
It's actually the reverse, because time comes when the woman feels it's right for her to move on. So she will start putting feelers out there, looking for the right person to fill that void, to satisfy that need which has been left by the husband. So the children become a secondary part of it. And this is where some of that resistance comes, because she starts with bringing that man into her life. And like your case, you said, you talked about your mother, and she must have thought hard about the kind of person that she wants to bring in her life before she prepared you for it. So the mother will not tell you that I'm looking for somebody, but her eyes and her heart is already out there. Through friendship groups, through sheikhs and so on. So she'll prepare her own bed before she prepares the bed for the children to move in. So it's the reverse that happens. And by this time, the shift to the children will appear so sudden. I'll say, our mom has not prepared us for this kind of move. And there's a new man who is already being introduced. So what's the dynamics going to be like? And the attachment for the girls is much, much stronger. And that's why we find that the girl child always resists to the last minute for somebody to come into the family home to replace their dad. One, because the girl child's attachment to their father can be so strong, and to break both attachments to the father and to the mother takes some time. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out also, somebody said depends on the circumstances. And I wanted to add that there's a cultural element to how stepfatherhood pans out. I've got a friend who, this is now like 25 years ago when we first came to the UK, young man, he moved in with an English lady. I don't know what the reasons were, whether it was for true love or for papers. Allah is the one who knows. And this woman had children. Now, this guy moves in and he becomes a father to these children. And because there was no man figure in the house, some of those children had already started misbehaving. But because this man moved in with the African iron fist, the children became like more disciplined. But
really, okay,
yes, yeah, he played a good role, and they were the talk of the community. Now, he had his own 2 children with this English lady, but somehow along the way, things did not work out. And the mother forgot the influence that this man had on her own children and kicked him out of the house at midnight, those awkward hours of the morning. Now, this man moves out, and to the surprise of the mother, even her own children would go and visit their stepdad because of that influence that he had built on them.
Yeah.
So however bad the circumstances are, I think there's that cultural element which plays a big role on the role that the stepfather brings into the family home. Because we are lucky as Africans that we have that strong belief that the man, and people might prove me wrong, that the man is the head of the family to some extent. And the influence that he has, whether it's on his own children or whether it's on stepchildren, is so strong that some mothers do not appreciate that level of influence that the man brings in.
So the mothers now feel threatened as a result.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll repeat again what I said last week, that the role that the stepfathers play in a home, whether they are sitting stepdads or they are absentee stepdads, like Fazil's case, that role that you bring into the lives of not just the children, but even in the lives of the mothers of those children, is a big ask. And for you to step in those shoes, I know when men go in for women or looking for wives, theirs is more of a physical attraction. They look at the burden after the act has been committed or after they have committed themselves.
Yes.
But they take on that role irrespective of how big that burden is. And when people say the mother comes with a baggage or with additional luggage, I don't accept that fact. Children are not a baggage. in any way, whether they're yours or not. They're not a baggage. They just happen to be there, and everybody has got to take that responsibility to bring them up.
Thank you very much, Jaden. Much appreciated. I think, well, very strong words there. I see Fatai Taufik, a new person. Imam Kasosi, because I know it's pretty late where you are at, I just wanted to get a slight view from you, coming into this one, you are an imam in the community, so you will definitely have dealt with these situations. You've grown up in our times, in which case, when it comes to stepdads and so on, you will know a thing or two. Then plus as well, coming to this as a social scientist, I mean, the view of a stepfather, especially from where you are at. I mean, here in Europe, it's different, but I wonder whether it has also moved through generations. Was there a particular status of a stepfather in the past that is different from the stepfather of today? Imam, are you there? Hello, Imam. Just trying to get you to unmute. Hello, Imam, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Is that
Hello.
Fatai?
Yes, Abdul Fatai.
Imam to come. Yes. Hello. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Welcome to this conversation. I'm sure you've been listening in. I could see you bleeding in and out, so you're dropping in and dropping out.
Yeah, the service.
Oh, yes. Apologies about that. Yes, we are talking about stepfathers. Where do you come into this conversation?
I would say the issue, when it comes to the issues of stepfathers, I think it's a very dense issue, especially in the Islamic community, because with the rise of single parent households. So, for example, for me, I didn't really experience single father per se, but I experienced single mother. I didn't experience a stepfather. I experienced a stepmother. So, I feel personally, Islamically, we all know that if the parents divorce, in the case of the parents divorcing, the kid will stay with the mother.
Yes.
And but from African culture, from African point of view, we always say, oh, for example, in my tribe or the Yoruba tribe, when the mother and the father splits up, the kids are most likely to stay with the father. And for me personally, when they stay with the father and the father marries another wife, there's a high possibility the wife always maltreats the children. However, in the stepfather situation, because the stepfather is not jealous or something, when the mother marries another man and then the man becomes a stepfather, it's a bit more easier, because most of the time we all know that the mother, even Islamically, says that the role of the mother in the child's life is very huge, and not downplaying the role of a father too. So, in essence, what I'm trying to point out is that if the child was really young, from a very young age, and he decides to adopts them, he can take them as is. They can essentially be his. But obviously, we know that they can't change their surname, because that's not around to change the surname. However, if it's also like he adopted them, or he met the mom where they were a bit older and they got married, and alhamdulillah, things was going well, he can still take them as is. But for me, because I've experienced from a stepmom, I would say being a stepfather, there's nothing wrong with it, and marrying a single mom, there's nothing wrong. Even the Prophet, even in Islam, it's advisable. It's more advisable to marry someone that's been a widow or a divorcee, because they have more needs to be met than a single person. So for me personally, I have been in a situation whereby I was speaking to a sister that had a child, but obviously it didn't work out because of some certain issues, because obviously, so in essence, it didn't work out because we're different religions. So we met when we're in uni, we're different religion, and that was one of the reasons why it didn't work out. But for me now, if I do meet someone that has a child, let's say the child is still very young, like I can take that child as mine, as long as she's willing to, I'm not saying that I'm going to stop the child from seeing the father, because that's very terrible, because you can't stop.
Yes.
You can't stop the child from saying the father if the father is around. That's another thing. You have to put that if the father is around and if he wants to be involved in the child's life. But if he doesn't want to be involved in the child's life, then I have to see as my own duty to come up and step up and be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take care of a responsibility. If my kids are going to private school, you're going to go there. We're going to be a unit because I feel like because I've grown up in like a step household has made me like this. So, but it might be different from someone else whereby their parents were still together.
But a fantastic first timer and brilliant submission there. Thank you very much. Actually, that's an experience probably we might end up with all the endless topics that we have. Talk about stepmothers. I have lots of stories to tell on stepmothers, and I'm sure many out there will have a word or say. Thank you very much, Fatai. First time, and yes, first time straight in there. Aisha Masimbi, I come to you, and then I'll have probably two more people, and we'll call it a night, because I think we have really explored a lot of the areas that we hadn't touched last time. Stepmothers might actually be, a topic of their own. Aisha, assalamu alaikum, and good to have you on the show.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. Thank you for the topic.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you for...
I personally, thank you. Actually never experienced a step. I've been lucky. I've never experienced being with a stepdad, or all my children having a stepdad.
So you've actually been walking on a flat surface, no steps.
Yes, no steps. No steps. But it's interesting, hearing people talking about, and also you talking about how jealousy men can be. Sometimes you think it's more of a woman, but it's interesting to know, to hear from men saying akasaja.
Yes.
Sometimes we just think about, it's normally us, but it's such an interesting thing, to hear. So I can't talk from my experience because I think I've been blessed. My children they don't have a stepdad, and I've never grown up with a stepdad, so I don't have that much
Thank
experience.
you very much. Well, but the thing I'm thinking about is actually talking about men and their jealousy. I think I would love to hear from the men who are part of the conversation tonight, who could say that, I've broken up with a woman and I wish her to get another man and, be happy. I would want to see that sort of man, because whenever the person goes away, like someone said, they're almost wishing let them live badly, and then if they get someone, then it becomes a surprise. You never know. A chance might actually be that person who could say they would wish their ex now the best to find the right woman. Thank you very much, Aisha.
You're welcome.
Chance,
Thank you too. Thank you too.
Brilliant. Chance, I come to you. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah. Are you that man that would be happy to sort of wish your ex-wife, the best in their next relationship while taking your children to a new man, a stepdad?
Yeah, unfortunately, my exes are my best friends. So
then are you one of those who have not actually kuchawad, who are still keeping the hope alive? You're keeping the possibility of getting back together alive.
my interpretation of that is different, because my perception is I've just got you on the way, on a journey.
Yes.
So regardless of how good or how bad you are, I can't love you up to the last. That's in me. So I have that leverage whereby in case things go bad or go good, there is that space whereby I'm not going to be hurt, and I don't want to see you hurt,
Right. Have you been hurt?
Yeah, like a normal person, you have feelings, you'll be hurt, but you have to let it go.
That is when you say your exes are your best friends. I'm just imagining a situation where you've been hurt so bad and yet you still go and say, yeah, I wish them the very best. I want them to get a
No,
good
it's
love
every man has a scar,
them.
unless if you're not a man enough. But it depends how deep the scar is and how deep the relationship was, or what value were you putting in that relationship.
Right.
But what I wanted to talk about is because I've just joined, I'm sorry, but there are many challenges. I have a live example whereby a man moved into the lady's house and they got engaged and got married. But this lady had a 16-year-old girl.
Right.
And this was my friend. And the woman was, I can't name names, but she was working in a council and she was doing well. And the man was studying. Now, because of cultural difference, the woman couldn't take control of the girl. And she's 16. When she's in summer, she puts on scantily. And to cut the story short, the man started hitting on the girl. And, like the girls can talk at school. Yeah. There is a way information leaked to the school, then the social work was involved and the man ended up in jail. But this comes in like if you're bringing in a man and you know that you have girls who are really grown-ups, then you have to take care, or you need to sit down on a round table and say, I'm bringing you in and have these grown-up girls. How are you going to manage it? That's very critical.
So is that the man you are putting to? How are you going to manage it, or even with your own girls now to say, I'm getting a man, a companion, and this is how you should behave around the man? Because it might be that the man, if the girl wasn't dressed scantily, I'm not trying to justify the man's situation, but I'm just looking at, if someone is throwing themselves all over you, what's the likelihood, what's the likelihood that will happen? Because is it not a conversation you should have with both parties, with your own girls first, and then with the man? Because
you're right. The communication can be vertical or horizontal, but all the parties should be engaged at different levels. Then when you see that you are on the same wavelength, then you can come on the round table and you say, this is going to be my husband going forward, and he's going to be your dad. It's up to you whether you want to call him your dad, or you want to call him X, or you want to call him whatever. And the problem we Africans have, when, I don't know whether it's because of love or something else, most of the women try to force the kids, oh, daddy, uncle. I think that's very wrong. If the kids don't have that feeling to call you the dad, then leave it aloof, because they also have feelings and we try to ignore their feelings.
Chance, stay on there. Don't go away. I just wanted to, I had Sharifa interject there on the point that you had just made. I wanted Sharifa Twaha, do you mind please coming in while I still have Chance? I want Chance to continue, but you had mentioned something there that I thought now it would be good to unpick while we are still there. It's about now the girls, bringing in girls. Abuse starts from home, you say. It's about the girls. That's one of the biggest concerns. What concern?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sharif. Nice to have you on.
Thank you.
Yes.
So basically, what I meant was, I've heard so many cases, especially in the Ugandan community. I've not heard any in the non-Muslim community. I mean, in the Muslim community, but I've seen stories. I know someone that is still facing jail time, and another person, Ugandan still, is in jail right now. And this person that I know personally was sexually abusing one of his girls. This girl came from Uganda and joined the other girls from the other lady who was living here. And when she grew up to an age, like around maybe 13, I don't know what age they start teaching about sexual education in school. So she started opening up about things like talking about boyfriends, I think to her teachers, and then they started digging, and then they found out she was actually sexually active with her own father from a very young age. Because by the time I met this girl, she was like about 8 before I traveled here.
That her own father or her stepfather?
Actually, this is our own father, but he also did it to one of the girls from the other lady who lives here. So he got both girls pregnant, and he used to cover it up, go like a guardian. Oh, my daughter was messing with another kid, and this happened. So the numbers were just getting more, and that's how he got caught. Even the school got involved, because that's where they first heard it from. So it's really, really sensitive, and we need to be careful. We need to open our eyes.
So Sharifa, I just interjected the Chance who was still talking, but I wanted to ask this quickly from you.
Yeah.
If you are bringing in, a new man into your life, you broke up with the father of your children, you are getting a new man, you need to move on with your life, and you have these daughters, what sort of conversation would you have? Is it with the daughters or with the husband, with the new man that is coming, or with both? And what sort of conversation would you have?
Well, obviously, I wouldn't have a conversation with both of them at the same time. I would separately talk to my girls how they should dress up, because obviously, sometimes how you dress is that's where things start from sometimes. So I would address them about things like that, and also I would talk to him and let him understand so many things. I would want my kids to be treated and respected. I would put some rules, like not entering the girl's bedroom without knocking or things like that. Yeah, and I'm sure I would obviously know that, but I'll still emphasize it just to remind him in a good way, not like as if I'm fighting or I'm trying to prove a point or something. Yeah.
Fatai Taufik says dressing shouldn't be a big deal. So probably where he grew up around, it's not a problem. Fatai, I've managed to gather, is Yoruba, so he's coming from a Nigerian background. Yoruba, I'm just wondering, I mean, he's just saying dressing is not an issue. You say dressing is an issue, and speaking as a woman, you definitely, and Hasfaka just says it's definitely a big
the
deal.
cause of all evil. Like, you can find a man like minding his own business, and then a woman passes by just anyhow, like all the things are showing and everything, and this man will lose even focus. We've seen so many cases. Someone will even cause an accident and kill innocent people just because they're staring at a woman.
But can I say something quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. In the Quran, Allah says, as a man, you need to be able to lower your gaze. And as a man, if you cannot control your emotion because of a woman is dressing certainly, then you're not a man enough. So
yeah, but Fatai, you know that in reality that doesn't happen. When
we know that in reality that doesn't happen, but it still doesn't mean if I see a girl that's if I'm walking down the road now, especially now that's the summertime, you see loads of women wearing something that's not appropriate. It doesn't mean you're going to.
Men are visual, and therefore
I understand that.
Before they even know your name, they want to see.
I understand that, but as far as I'm concerned, even though we have vision, it doesn't mean you will go and talk to them or you will go and touch them inappropriately. What you just said, it doesn't. I understand what you're saying. That you should what people wear and all that. Yes, I understand. But as a man, you need to be able to control. Not even as a man, as a human being, you need to be able to control yourself. Especially if the girl is your stepdaughter, you should not be having that kind of thought towards her at all.
Taufik, there is a lot that is going on in the chat room here, which we also use.
Mr. Kayira.
Yes, and Chance is still having a chance. So
I just want to throw in one thing, which I observe around the environment we live in. Assuming you're coming into a lady who has maybe 18-year, 20-year-old girls, and we live within the same small environment. We have the same bathroom, we live in the same sitting room. That small squeezed place, it's also a challenge.
Yes.
It's a temptation. Take it or leave it. To me, I find it's a temptation in that the work pattern is different. You work night, I work day. I'm living with these girls who are stranger to me. We don't have a bond. We're using the same bathroom, you know. It's a very challenging thing. I'm not saying that there can be a remedy, but
Safina would say to you, but a man has to exercise self-control and know he is the adult in this. He should know his boundaries even within the house.
no, one thing is, if you take a demographic analysis about our girls here, if the girls are around, let's say they're around 18, the boys who are 17 or 18, they can't hit on them. The girls who are 18 or 20, they'll be looking at maybe men who are in 30s. You know, there is that crisis. So you'll be having girls and the mother, and the girls will be looking at the stepdad as like, is he good enough? You know, there is that challenge, and that's a weakness where sometimes where you can't blame the men.
I hear you, Chance. Okay, thank you very much. Now, going forward then, Chance, as I let you go so that we can wrap up. We've got 3 minutes, oh my God, to the end of the show, and it's still just heating up. Gaddafi Mayanja says it's all about self-control, however strong you may be. The girls can make an approach too. At times they can also, that's from Mayanja Fazil, at times they can also lie about the stepdad in the house while trying to throw you out. Yes, so I'll bring Safina in as we roll towards the end. Thank you very much, Chance. I hope I didn't get you off before you finished making your point. Safina, you have the word.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'll still go back to my point of self-control. Many times, it's not an issue of dressing, because a man can hatch imaginations in their brain for whatever reason. This is why if a man doesn't have self-control, those are the ones who sleep with the housemaids in the house. They hit at their workmates. So some people, it's just about their character. If you come in a relationship as a stepdad, or kati I'm a dad, we need to know who is in charge of what in the house. Men who usually cross the line with the maids, babera nyo involved in what the maid is doing in the house. Yet that's the department of the wife. Same thing with the children. If we have girl children in the house, manya your boundaries. If you're too mukafunda, it's this other small environment we're living in. It's okay for you from work, stay in your bedroom. Because that's how sometimes we keep peace.
My sister,
that's where the kids are, and then
speak to Safina.
My sister Stefina.
Yes, Asfa.
My goodness. Let me tell you, I have girls. And I will tell you that there is absolutely no way. First of all, as a mother, I cannot walk and dress in a certain way. With, even if I'm leaving the house. My girls know. And no matter how much I know their stepfather will never, ever cross that line. But I can never let those girls dress in any way that is not appropriate. If we are home alone, then it's okay. As soon as he comes back, there is absolutely no way. You cannot do that. As you can walk on the street,
join the conversation.
hit on you.
We are now wrapping up.
You
can talk.
No, true. I know that girls might dress whichever way, and I'm with you 100%. You can tell these girls to dress properly. And sometimes it's not about dressing. Even if we've seen people in hijab and men are hitting on them. So it's not an issue to more attractive because of the way they are dressed.
Safina, now Sharifa says dressing is one of the many causes of abuse. There is a reason why we cover up. This is coming from a lady.
Exactly. And also the issue of privacy. For example, if you're entering a girl's bedroom, even if you're the father, you still have to knock. The fact that you have to knock, it shows that you have to respect, her privacy and all this kind of stuff. So dressing definitely plays a very, very important role. I remember, sorry to divert a wee bit, but I remember at a certain stage in my relationship where I had stepchildren, I tried to discipline or to talk to this guy, to the kid, and then all of a sudden he tried to to blackmail me or to scare me. And he mentioned abuse. And then he even mentioned the phone number. So I realized that all he wanted to do now was to call whatever social services and all this kind of stuff. So what I did, I was like, okay, if that's the case, here's the number, you can call them. And then my wife then actually came in and also backed me up, because this kid all of a sudden was going to, make up a story or something that I hit him or all this kind of stuff, something that never happened. But because me and the wife, we actually stood together on this, we were on the same page. We managed to traverse that situation, and it never came up at any one time. The issue of dressing, I think, is very important, especially on the girls' side, because girls can at times also try to entice you. They try to, make those approaches and stuff like that. Yes, you can turn it down, and when you turn down that girl, you are beating down her confidence at a certain stage. So if you beat down her confidence, they can allege anything. I'm not saying that all of them do it, but it is really, 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 you should really be very, very technical and be prepared for such situations. And I think dressing really plays a very, very important role. I think we should.
The Den says the reason we have to knock is because the heart is weak. Respect comes second. So actually, probably even knocking is one thing, but also making some noise as you're coming, so that before you even knock, your approach is already understood. I'm coming there, girls, are you there? Then you get to knock, but by the time you have already made your preparation, your presence actually well known before you get to that. Well, I think we are 2 minutes over time. Ismail and Hasfa would be killing me if I go too much over time. It's really, really been a wonderful night having a conversation like this. I thank you very much. It always gets heated up as it comes towards the end, and you almost wish you were there entirely to sort of, have the conversation. But this one started hot from the very start. Imam Kasozi, I still wanted to give you the last word. If you are there, please, if you can just unmute before we call it a night. If you slept off, then that will be understandable, but I know you would be there. Imam, are you there? Could you unmute yourself, please, as we say good night? Otherwise, Imam might have slept off. I'm not sure he's overcome the fatigue, either from funerals or even the Hajj itself. It takes a toll, but it looks like Imam is not there. He said he had come to listen in, but I'm sure he would have had a sort of a round word to that. Let me take the opportunity to just thank you so, so much. I think we've given justice. Please urge men to marry our sisters. As for why don't I just actually give you that? Please come on and let's give it. It will make a lot more sense coming from you. Go ahead, please.
I made this appeal last week.
Yes.
And somebody made a comment, Rabbi Namaileji, blah, blah, blah. But I
speed meter.
Yes. But no, I still say our children that are in single family homes do still need father figures. Our boys do need father figures in the homes. Please, men, despite everything that is being said today or whatever comments, holidays in negative, please, temutia, mutomere front.
Please. We can't find them.
There are so many, they are there. They are there. Naye mubatia, vamtulira abaana, naye temubatia. Bambi abaana mbawase. Some of them are widows. Some of them are struggling, and Bambi, they need that man who's going to come and say, I got you.
Well, as far as you say, the last word, which is quite important, boss lady here saying, please share contacts. I don't know whether that was to Fazil Mayanja, who was asking whether Balini Dawa. Yeah, I think he's quite interested. Musa Chaguranyi is only logging in as we are saying our goodbyes, and I have someone looking for a wife.
Auntie Obalaba, the boss lady boss lady wuyo naye has a candidate, bannanga abakyala gye bali. Sheikh Keke, you live in the UK. I know you know that there's too many single mothers who are willing and ready.
I know.
I know there's women here in the US. I know so many who are willing and are ready. Naye, we have to talk about this, have these conversations to Tereza where we're going wrong.
Conversations, this story is where you make a recommendation. When you make a recommendation and boss lady is asking you to reach out to her, conditions in Kambwe, I think that is actually Sheikh Abbas Njuchi here from North London is one of those who has really taken it upon himself for kunonyeza abantu, and actually he does run adverts so much. Naraga mchara ya zara koya ya imwetef naye ogenda okulaba conditions obujjirako shay'un mahdhufu taqdiruhu olina okuba ne byolina waliwo asaba status empapula zirina okubaawo waliwo asaba waliwo asaba emperekeze z'ebyo ebigenderako olina okuba n'ennyumba eyo olina okuba actually now I think one of the other things that has made it difficult is ogenda okuyingira mu stephood as a stepfather, for example, you would rather bring a woman into your house because I think that gives you stamina, that gives you the manhood. Because if you're going to go, and most of these women are women who are having their houses, they are keeping the houses because if they break up, the man is the one who goes out, and therefore the women are in their houses with their children, and you have to come and enter the house. Honestly makes you like a refugee who has come to seek asylum. It puts you in a difficult place that by the time you build yourself, before you build yourself, you would see, how difficult that is. For you to actually build it to a level that is, acceptable, it takes a bit of time. But as Hajati Merem Mabuya says there, Sheikh Njuchi said recently, he has a 23 and 40-year-olds, meaning definitely Jakuba Ngainao Kubana, Chibachi answering Gundi Hasfa, where people should go out, and look out for these people and see. The dilemma is sometimes baggage, the baggage that we were speaking about. The baggage sometimes is not about children, like Jaden was saying. The baggage is the burden that this person has. People break up for different reasons. You've gone there with very good intentions. If there is anything that men really, really can't stand, is an argumentative wife. It just takes away the whole of life. Omusajja can stand anything other than obuyombi. However beautiful you are a muyombi, just know you're going to stay. It becomes very, very difficult. And while we sort of go out and make the pleas to find people, to find wives, please, some of these things are natural, they are innate, they are inborn, so you can't change them. So you are just that. For a man, if there is anything, the takeaway now to anyone intending to have a stepdad to their children coming in, please, when you want a relationship, you never noticed it. No man wants yomba. This really, really is the turn-off. Many people will run out of a relationship and they are coming now to make sure they are getting a bit of peace, a piece of peace, as in a slice of peace. And the last thing you want is to find yourself having to get into having arguments or whatever. That's normal, that's natural, that's human. But having omcharo biyombi, that's a total turn off. I thank you very much for another brilliant conversation that we have had tonight. I hope to see you. Kuyomba, Safina is asking what is Kuyomba and what causes it. They are just women who are naturally that, and it becomes very, very difficult to stand it. Okuyomba is, God, I don't know how to put it, because it's not just arguing, because if it's arguing means you're having an argument with someone, but there are people who are just in a position where they will create a situation that just, they will talk and you have to listen for the 30 minutes of, it's nagging. Jaden, nagging is a bit, but it might combine more than just one. Sharifa Tuha says our culture teaches women to stay silent Ignore to keep peace, but whose peace? Kalozi, I think that's how I think people should consider going for marriage counseling before the second marriage too. What is your, okay, that's the one we just touched. Yes, and the final ones, of course, are the Islamic guidance to this particular process. Islam provides 3 steps to a situation, to this particular situation before you break up and before you go to find somebody else. Islam, unlike Christianity, where when you're getting married, they say, till death doth us part. Islam is different. Islam has allowed, because you cannot stay in an abusive relationship. Just like you fall in love, you can just wake up one day and you have fallen out of love. Islam considers that as natural. It's human. You can wake up. Either bakuroze, you might have been bewitched, or it is just a natural inclination. Just like you can fall in love, you can fall out of love. Now, that being the case, Islam has provided. But before you break up with a person, there are 3 situations. The first situation is have a conversation with the person. So, husband, wife, you have had a misunderstanding, you have had this, whatever, talk about it. Have this conversation in the confines of your bedroom, or take a walk in the park and have that conversation. If it does fail, then it escalates. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran talks about فَبَعَثْ حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ. Look for a witness or a representative from the man's side and look for a representative from the woman's side. So you are getting people who are coming now to try to, this person from your side will be looking at your interests, the other person from the other side will be looking at the other person's interests, and you decide to have a conversation about it. If it does fail totally, you get to the 3rd level, and that's the level where the imam, the sheikh, comes in. As he put you together in the first instance, then he comes to dissolve the marriage. The divorce proceedings now follow. I have noticed that of all the lives that I've seen, I have not seen a single marriage that has gone through the rightful divorce. I repeat this, in my lifetime, which is half a century plus now, I have not seen a breakup, a divorce that has followed the Islamic proceedings or the Islamic procedures. That is sometimes due to the circumstances that build up, that lead you to the situation. But I have not seen in my lifetime a divorce that has taken or followed the Islamic procedure. Islamic divorce says you will declare to the person that you have divorced them. They must stay in the house. They must stay in the same, it might be that because of the divorce now you have to sleep in separate bedrooms. But our circumstances are like you might be just as the same room. You can keep together. You will provide them everything except the conjugal aspect. The moment you touch, that has changed the situation. You are back together. You are no longer divorced. The reason Islam provides this is for a person that you fell in love with, a person that you have said all the beautiful, sweet somethings, they cannot turn into sweet nothings out of the blue. Islam allows you that period now of the 3 months that you're going to stay together as if married, with the exception of the conjugal aspect. The moment you touch her, the divorce is broken. So Islam is providing an opportunity that if there is good intention in the man and good intention in the woman, the likelihood of getting back together is there. And that is what Allah wants. But of the things that Allah has allowed, but He hates, is divorce. He has allowed it because there might be mitigating circumstances that must lead to that. It's a good point, I think, to finish. That as you decide that you have decided to break, be ready for someone else to come and take your ride. It can be a very jealous moment for a man who has divorced to see who used to be their beautiful wife being taken by somebody else. Stepfathers play a very key role in people's lives, especially when they bring happiness to a woman who thought she had lost it all. It's good to have you. Hope to see you next Tuesday, inshallah. I will thank you very much. You remember, if you've missed this program, probably missed the beginning, which was very powerful, just go to facebook.com/75W Radio and just search for the program, or go onto YouTube and look for Ummah Connected. The program will be live there, and you can just watch back and see what you missed. I thank everybody who has contributed to the conversation and hope to see you same time next week. Thanks for the people in the technical department, Habiba, Hafsa, and Isma on 75W Radio and on Ummah Connected. And thank you to you who have been a part of the conversation. Our numbers never seem to matter, considering the kind of conversations that we have. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.